Hey, what's going on? I just wanted to do this quick tip video for those of you that may be working with pallet wood in order to do your crafting projects. I'm going to go through real quickly the process that I use to go and take apart a 29 by 45 dimension pallet. So here we go. So like I said, this pallet is 29 by 45, and for those of you that work with pallets, it can be frustrating sometimes. You end up either cutting the nails and sacrificing some of your length, or if you're trying to get the length and then you end up splitting it anyway. I'm gonna go through this real quick. Now keep in mind, the size of your nail heads is really going to determine the length and the size of your nails. Now it appears that the four boards in the middle have smaller heads, so they're probably going to come out easily, and then the two boards that are on the ends are going to have your longer, bigger nails. So I'm going to set this on the tripod. I'm going to go through it real quick. Right before I do that, these are the tools that I'll be using a hammer, using a crowbar, and actually have two 2x4 support pieces from another pallet. I'll be using those, and I guess you could say kind of like a platform or fulcrum. You'll see that in just a second. Now, if this was your traditional pallet, the bottom boards would be 2x4, and they would be standing up instead of laying flat like these pieces of wood are. So with this pallet, obviously I can't use a breaker, a pallet breaker, because I wouldn't be able to get it in there anyway. So I'm going to carefully use a crowbar to pry up these four boards, because like I mentioned earlier, they have smaller nail heads and they're going to be much easier to pry off. You'll see that in just a second. So see, that came right up, and you can definitely see the nails are shorter and they're smaller. So these other three boards should follow suit. So okay, those four boards are out. These two sides have your bigger, longer nails. So I'm going to use the 2x4s like I mentioned earlier. Now, I won't be able to fully, just pry it right off, because it'll split the ends. But what I want to do at the same time is I want to work the end of my crowbar under just ever so slowly until I can get to the actual nail. And keep in mind, it's trial and error, as a lot of you that work with pallets already know. And what you want to do also as you're doing this, you'll want to keep your support board as close to it as possible. That way it changes. It split just a little bit. But I got it under there. Nail heads actually push through. So I'm going to keep going. Go for this middle one here. Typically, once you compromise an end, the rest of it is usually a little easier. And actually, what I can do at this point, instead of trying to take my chances on this end, I can actually just pull up, as you can see. So, see how those nails are much longer and bigger than the other boards. So this other board is going to follow suit. So once again, I want to do when trying to compromise the end, I want to be as careful initially as as possible. Make sure also as you lay boards on the ground that you're careful where you step. Yeah, I had a feeling that this one was going to split because it had a defect in it that I was a little concerned about. And with this particular type of pallet, I mean, you can pretty much reuse everything. I mean, it has some 2.5 inch and some 3 1/4 inch spiral nails. You know, they can come in handy around the house with other building projects that you may have. So to avoid any safety hazards, I'll pull up any nails from what I just did, set those to the side. Okay, what I'll do now with this pallet, I'll actually turn it over. Now, in order to get each one of these boards up, I'll need my 2x4s again. But in addition to that, I'm gonna need a couple of small blocks of wood. So, once again, the intent is to get the crowbar under here to, now in this particular case, what I'm actually looking to do is that those sawdust blocks that are under each nail point, what I'm trying to do is to put the crowbar under there in order to force it away, like so. See, that piece of wood came right up. Now what I'm gonna do, so I don't have to have these awkward moments with these larger pieces of scrap wood, what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna get these wood sawdust blocks off so that I can actually use those as my, I guess you could call it my fulcrum platform. So you just take the hammer, see how that's coming off like that. I'll force the crowbar under there. See that on the camera? See how that came right off? This one on the bottom is going to follow suit. See, that came right off. Also, where your sawdust blocks were attached to the rest of the pallet, there's nails there also. So please be mindful. You want to put some weight on there to keep it from moving. Same thing. That one's off. You do the same thing with your blocks. That one's off. Now keep in mind, when you prying these away, if you can get the crowbar in between this board and the sawdust block that way, you can do that, or if the opening happens under there, do it that way. Whichever way allows you to disconnect the board without damaging the see, with the exception of the one board that got damaged, you can use that entire pallet. I've done floating shelves, I've done kids' desks, I've done small apartment tables. You can do just about anything with that. You actually end up with about a third of a pound of usable nails also, depending on what shape your pallet is in, you know, in reference to how much rust may be present, you know, how much weathering of the wood itself. So hope you find this quick tip video helpful. Let me know any suggestions you may have, and hope to see you on the next one. All right, thanks for watching.